The Horrific Crimes of Killer Clown, the story of John Gacy. The killer clown, Gacy, an upstanding fellow of his Chicagoland neighborhood who performed as a clown at children's birthday parties, became infamous after 33 young men's bodies were found beneath his ranch house near Norwich in the late 70s. Today we'll talk about a model citizen, a hospital volunteer. John Gacy was a simple man and a colorful clown who wore makeup to entertain children. But nobody saw the cruel monster beneath his mask. Stay tuned as we tell you about how Gacy murdered the young boys. But what do you think would have happened that made Gacy commit such horrific acts? Stay tuned to our channel, subscribe, and press the bell icon so you don't miss out on any new news. Gacy was born into a working-class household and appeared to have a typical childhood. However, he began to show signs of sadism, which led to repeated run-ins with the law in the 1960s. Gacy had a close relationship with his mother and two sisters, but he was never close to his father. His father was an alcoholic who would physically abuse his family, especially Gacy. Clown and his father had a tumultuous relationship. His father would make fun of him, calling him dumb and stupid. One of Gacy's first memories of his father were slapping him across the face with a leather belt for misplacing parts of an automobile engine he had put together. Gacy's father learned in 1949 that his son and another boy were caught sexually fondling a young girl. As a punishment, his father whipped him with a razor strop. The reason behind this act was Gacy was being molested by a family friend and contractor. But Gacy never informed his father about it because he was worried he would be blamed. Gacy was a chubby, unathletic adolescent. He was advised to avoid all sports at school due to a cardiac problem. Gacy began to have blackouts while he was in 4th grade. He admitted to the hospital on several occasions due to these incidents. He experienced a burst appendix in 1957. His father suspected his son's bouts as attempts to get sympathy and attention and openly accused him of faking the illness. As Gacy turned 18, he got interested in politics, serving as an assistant precinct captain for Democratic Party candidate in his neighborhood. Gacy later expressed that he chose to enter politics was motivation by desire for acceptance from others that he had never gotten from his father. Gacy attended Northwestern Business College and earned a bachelor's degree in 1963. In March of that year, he got engaged to Marilyn Myers, a co-worker. He had a second homosexual experience in 1964. Gacy and Myers married in September 1964 after a 6-month relationship. In Waterloo, Iowa, Marilyn's father bought 3 Kentucky Fried Chicken or KFC restaurants, and Gacy was hired to run the eateries as a manager, so the couple relocated. With all the income coming in, Gacy built a club in his basement where his staff could drink alcohol and play pool. Even though Gacy's restaurants employed both males and females, he would mainly associate with the young males. Gacy would give many of them drinks before making sexual advances, and if they refused, he would claim his advances were just jokes or morality tests. In August of 1967, the killer clown Gacy sexually molested 15-year-old Donald Voorhees, the son of fellow Gacy. Gacy lured the boy to his home by promising to show him heterosexual stag flicks often shown at Gacy functions. Gacy molested numerous other young boys in the following months and fooled several youngsters into believing he hired them to conduct homosexual experiments for scientific research and paid them up to $50 each. In March of 1968, Voorhees told his father that Gacy had sexually assaulted him, to which Gacy openly denied any wrongdoing and said that the claims were politically driven, since Voorhees Sr. had opposed Gacy's bid for the Iowa Jaycees presidentship. Several fellow Jaycees believed Gacy's story and rallied behind him. However, he was arrested and charged with sodomy on May 10, 1968. He was detained at the Iowa State Men's Reformatory, Anamosa State Penitentiary in 1968 after being convicted of sexually assaulting a juvenile boy and compelling to undergo psychological evaluation. In 1970, he was arrested again for sexual assault while still on parole, but the charges were eventually dismissed. Gacy became a successful independent contractor and purchased a home in the Chicago suburbs. The trail of incidents kept happening as of February 12, 1971, where Gacy was charged with sexually assaulting a teenage boy who claimed that he had lured him and driven him to his home, where he attempted to force the boy into sex. The court dismissed this complaint when the boy failed to appear at the hearing. By 1975, Gacy had told his wife that he was bisexual and began spending time most evenings away from home. Carol, his second wife, observed Gacy bringing teenage boys into his garage in the early hours and found gay pornography in Wen's wallets and identification inside the house. When she confronted Gacy about whose items these belonged to, he informed her angrily that it was none of her business. This was when Gacy became aware of a Jolly Joker clown club, whose members regularly performed at fundraising events and parades and voluntarily entertained hospitalized children. In late 1975, Gacy joined the Clown Club and created his own clown character, Pogo the Clown. He designed his makeup and costumes. He described Pogo as a happy clown. Gacy killed at least 33 young men and boys, burying 26 of them in his own house's crawl area. The people he killed were someone he knew, and strangers drawn from Chicago's Greyhound bus station, Bughouse Square, or some of the streets with the promise of a job. He would offer them a drink or drug money for sex. Some victims were grabbed by force, while others were forced into thinking that Gacy, who wore a sheriff's badge and drove a black Oldsmobile with spotlights, was a cop. Gacy used to kill his victims by tying a rope around their necks and gradually tighten it with a hammer handle. This is the last trick, he often says to his hostage, referring to the performance as the rope trick. He had read a portion of Psalm 23 as he tightened the rope around his victim's neck at least once. Although several victims died by asphyxiation from cloth gags placed far into their throats, some victims convulsed for an hour or two before dying. Except for his final 2 victims, all of his victims were killed between the hours of 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. When one of Gacy's victims, Robert Peast, went missing in 1978, authorities discovered that Gacy was the last person to see him. Police uncovered the deaths of 29 adolescents and young men in or around Gacy's residence after obtaining a search warrant. 4 of their bodies were located in the nearby Des Plaines River. The part of the house emitted a bad odor for years, but Gacy had convinced his house guests and his wife that it was due to moisture buildup. Gacy's plea of not guilty because of his insanity was supported by the testimony of many experts who diagnosed him as a schizophrenic during his trial. Still, the jury rejected it, finding guilty of all 33 killings. After being convicted of 33 murders, then the most homicides by one person in US legal history, John Gacy was sentenced to death in 1980. His final words when he was executed were "kiss my ass." What do you think allows serial killers to get away with murder? What do you think about this killer clown story? Let us know down in the comments below, and like this video and subscribe for more tech insider knowledge.